This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Look at these beautiful colors this morning here on Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands. Some wonderful impala grazing along. Very peaceful this morning, at least for now. I'm hoping that it's going to become quite exciting. I'm excited. I always am excited, aren't I? And I've got lots of plans. I want to head down to the den and then take it easy around that area. Maybe check out a few of the dams and appreciate the beauty of this very chilly morning out here. So jump on board, everyone. It's your live safari through the African bush. Hello, hello. I'm so glad to be on board with all of you, as usual. I love it. Look at this. Oh, it's the sun just peeking through there. Like a bright, orangey, reddy, yellow jelly tot. That's what I like to describe it as. Let's just watch this beauty rise before we do all our usual. The moon setting was just brilliant this morning. And now a sunrise to wake you all up and welcome you to this live safari. I'm hearing just a few chirps here and there from birds as they begin their dawn chorus. This is just the perfect time to sit and listen. Maybe some distant roars, maybe some sawing, maybe some alarm calls. All those beautiful things that build our excitement out here in the bush. I don't think listening out here is complete without the sound of the Cape turtle dove telling us all to work harder in the morning. There we go. Ah, isn't that lovely? Just beautiful. Well, we're here in the Sabi Sands on Djuma Game Reserve, everyone, and it's me, Tshala. I've got Gert on camera with me, and we're looking for all things beautiful this morning, especially around here. Already we've got that wonderful sunrise. If you're wondering why you just saw my hand with one glove, it's because I just dropped my glove on the side of the road. So once we wrap up here, I'll go and collect it and we'll be on our way. Well, this is your live safari, everyone. So use that hashtag Wild Earth, use @FC on the YouTube chat stream. And please go to our website, go to the live safari page. You can sign up and use our questions and comments box. We'd love to hear from you and all our wonderful kiddies under the age of 18. Please use kids questions at wildearth.tv. We'll try to get as many of them through as possible and have some awesome discussions, maybe learn something new from each other. It's about 13 degrees Celsius this morning, 55 degrees Fahrenheit. But I must admit that this morning when we just left camp, which was 10, 15 minutes ago, our weather station at camp showed it was about almost 8 degrees. 8 degrees Celsius. So we're getting into the single digits as we creep closer and closer to the official start of winter. Oh, congratulations, Sammy. You're the #1 comment for this morning. You say red hot, beautiful sunrise. What a beautiful giant ball of gas the sun is. Life as we know it, we owe to the sun, the distance from it, all the energy it throws onto our planet. I especially love the colors. Oh, good morning to you too, Mike. I'm also mobile. I'll get on to the Game Drive radio in a bit. Everyone's just kind of rising and getting out. So there's not much to follow up on just yet. We're going to get going and start moving towards the hyena den, first picking up my glove, and I'm going to send you over to have a look at the weather at our other locations this morning. I think I might have just driven over my glove. Where are you, glove? I was looking everywhere for it, and then I just turned around and found it on the side of the road. What are you doing on the side of the road, glove? So in the mornings, I mean, if you didn't know, I'm from Durban, so I have to make sure that I'm covered with my blanket and then my hot water bottle. And then I have to uncover myself, then I can jump down. My glove. And then I'll have to rewrap myself. You're getting behind the scenes action here, everyone. Shook her back where it needs to be. There we go. And we're ready to move. I even roll with my, especially during this time, I roll with my little heater. Oh, Gabby, you say you're crossing fingers for some active hyenas? So am I. I really am. Even if it's not at the den, but as we're moving around, if we see them, follow them a little bit. Remember how we did the other day, and we managed to follow Gingarika through the Mulwati. That was really, really nice. Get to see their behaviors outside of the den, because so often we just get to see the den behavior or just them strolling around, but that digging, that curiosity that we have seen born at the den, we've seen them be so curious, so active, and really quite mischievous, you know, coming to our feet and all that kind of thing. But to see that in action in the wild being applied, that's really, really cool. So I'm hoping for a bit of that as well. There's not too much activity on quarantine, which is also a good sign, because it means that perhaps there was a predator that walked through this morning. I know there's some tracks for female leopard on Vietica access, which is just to the north of us here. Steve is following up on them. Let's just have a quick look here. Hyena, hyena, hyena. Heather, you'd like to know if the hyena den will still be active as the cubs get older? No, it's already starting to become less and less active. Sightings there are far and few between now, especially of the kind of scale of the activity we had before. We're not seeing that anymore. So once these cubs get older, there will be a period where the den will be completely inactive. It will no longer be in use. But then in another, say, year and a half, 2 years, we'll have another lot of cubs come along. And then the dens will be active again. But they can choose to use any den, really. But that's the exciting part. Things change so much. They go in cycles, you find patterns. And, I mean, out here in the wild. And then you can look forward to those things. Also helps you to appreciate what we've had when it's not consistent. It's not always there. And there's always there in the back of your mind, the idea that soon it's going to be over. Like with any cubs. They've all got to grow up, don't they? Okay, let me get through this very icy dip and up on the other side towards the den. I'm going to send you over to Pinda to say good morning.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to and Beyond Pinda. As you can see, we have got an absolutely beautiful sunrise going on here up in Zululand. It is a bitterly cold morning, though. I, for the first time this winter, have got my gloves on, and I've got 2 jerseys as well, so you can tell how cold it is. I'm Kim, and behind camera we've got Johan. And yeah, I mean, we just had to actually stop and take a moment to look at how beautiful the sunrise was, because it is just stunning. Those clouds are spectacular. Like these beautiful wisps of cloud. They really, really are pretty. We just kind of stopped and took a moment. There's a wildebeest quite nearby who also seems to be taking a moment, taking in this beautiful misty morning. All the birds starting to wake up. It really is a pretty morning. I think this morning we are going to be going to an open grassland. We're just going to be looking for some plains game, maybe doing a bit of birding, just to see what is out and about, what's braving this cold weather. But surely a sunrise like this will pull everyone into action. Yes, Rimble, this is a rather spectacular sunrise. It is just, and Johan and I were just talking earlier about how the winter sunsets and sunrises do seem to just be a lot better than the summer ones. I think it's got to do with just the dust and all the mist that we get. The air is obviously a lot colder than quite a lot of the water around here. There are lots of water bodies, and that creates this mist over the whole land when the water is warmer than the air. And I think that's partly what we have to thank for this beautiful sunrise, and then also the fact that it hasn't rained for a little while, so it's getting quite dusty, and all the dust suspended in the air also helps to make it this stunning. Like in summertime, I think by the time it was this high above the horizon, you wouldn't actually be able to look at it. It would be too bright already. In winter, it's still got this kind of belt of either water or dust particles to get up above. Anyway, so we will carry on with our plan, find some cool stuff to show you guys, and we're going to send you over to Steve.
Good morning everybody. Welcome to Djuma. Welcome to Rusty. My name is Steve, joined by David Sito on camera, and it's a little bit cold. I'm crying from the moisture in my eyes, but that's all right. We have been following some tracks of a female leopard. They've cut through the block here, and we're going to just come around, see if we can pick up on them again. I have a feeling it might be Shadulu, but it could be any of the females at the moment. There seems to be such a loose sort of association with the movement of female leopards through the property. Kalamba's been in this area, Kara, Shadulu, which I haven't seen in a while. She's actually got quite a big foot, old Shadulu, so I don't think it is her. But you never know. Probably her daughter. We shall see. We shall see. Wonderful morning to be out and about. So that is our plans for today.
Going straight to
Copied. Should I go check at the gate, Mike?
Yeah, but somebody drive over on this spot, so still going straight to the north towards 1I-10. I'll keep you updated.
Copied. Copy, thank you. I'll check for till access to the gate. So, the tracks have cut through and are on Triple M now. Going probably back into Simbambili. That's where the radio is handy, so you can increase your search area. Otherwise, you spend a lot of time trying to find animals on your own. The radio is very helpful. Very nice tool. So I would like to find Shadulu. I haven't seen her in ages. And our idea was to come towards the gate and see if we could find some tracks of Tabangumi, because he's around. And then at the same time, we found female leopard tracks. So while we try and figure out where they've gotten to, let's send you over to Trish, who's at the hyena den.
There are, well, I guess there's nobody at the den entrance, but we have a few that's running around here. Hello, you guys. No. Now, this is quite strange. Now, the reason I felt comfortable to stop here, there's just 3 cubs here, is that 2 adults are hanging out at the other den, just sitting there, while it seems that the little ones are playing around here. So it looks like I've got June's little one, and Tima's little one, and Heart's son. Hey. Just kind of chilling around here, but we're going to... Hey, no, that's my blanket. Don't ever let your things dangle. No. Anyway, wait, let's go to the side where the adults are. This is interesting. If there's anything that can put a smile on your face in the morning, it's little hyena cubs. Up to their usual. Okay, so I drove past the 2 adults at the other den. Let's go, because I thought maybe something would still be happening here. Because at this stage when, well, basically all the dens in this immediate area, which is within maybe 200 meters of each other, maybe even a little less, the scent is all over in all those dens, so they'll use it. Even if the adults are there, cubs might come play here, etc. So it's always a good idea to check them as you drive past, especially since the road allows us to do that. A little cub with the golden sunlight of the morning on it. It just warms me up even more, and I need it. Okay, so that this one here, I saw them, this one here at least. Didn't see who it was because I just saw them from the road. Looks like there's a cub here too. Hi, Claire. It's okay. You say the adult hyenas are hiding to get some rest. We see that very often. Very, very often. It's hard with her daughter, Gingarika. Just chilling. I thought I saw a ribbon here as we drove past. Maybe she's checking out both dens or kind of patrolling them, making sure her clan's okay. Well, she won't do that with the intention of making sure her clan's okay, but she will, as matriarch, move between the dens. Just to keep tabs, I suppose, on what's going on within her clan. But as I was saying, we do see it often. Sometimes if the cubs are very rowdy, you'll find the adults will walk away, but they'll just kind of sit as far as they can with still being able to see the den. Sometimes that means that we don't see them at all. I guess every mother does need a break from all the craziness, all the zoomies that the cubs get, going round and round and round, den biting, pulling, all those things. Now the cubs are able to smell heart here. So to them they'll feel very safe to just play around like that. Both little groups are able to smell each other very easily. They've got such well-developed sense of smell, olfactory senses. Well, we're going to stick here with them and see who else comes around. Maybe those cubs will come this side.
When on safari, there's nothing better than an evening spent under the stars chatting around a fire, with the sounds of the wild all around you. If you sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer, you can build your own memories by joining our guides for regular fireside chats. Subscription payments can be made by PayPal, credit card, and now bank transfer. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature. Across southern and East Africa, the Endangered Wildlife Trust works tirelessly to save species, protect critical habitats, and benefit people. Join the EWT in returning wildlife to the wild. Go to ewt.org.za to find out more and follow our socials to see how you can get involved. Protecting forever, together.
My name is Ross and I'm a field guide at and beyond Pinder Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Hello, boy. You are a monster. And he's coming right up to us. Hello, boy. Oh, settle down. Settle down. He is very, very close. He's pushing his trunk against the car. You can feel the car moving. Hey, 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 hey. Stop that.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
What fascinates me most about the animal circle of life is the intricacies between the large and the very, very small. I mean, it's very easy to go out there and find the large. Once you found the large, the cascading effects down to the small absolutely fascinates me. Alertness and situation awareness is by far the #1 aspect for protecting ourselves out on safari.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
Good morning and welcome to Wild Earth. We are live at Eco Training Pridelands, and at the moment we are at Ndlovu Dam, just enjoying the sunrise. We're waiting for things to start slowly heating up, and then we're going to start with our walk. My name is JP LaRue, and behind the camera we have Glenn. So our plan for this morning is to just walk the circumference of the dam, see if there's any tracks coming in and out from animals from last night, and then decide where we're going to head towards. And in the meanwhile, we would like to encourage you to just enjoy this beautiful sunrise and the clouds behind it. At the moment, there's a lot of cirrus clouds that also creates for a spectacular sunrise. These are normally precursors of a cold front which will soon follow, and at least that we'll have another lovely warm day today. Actually very high clouds that consist out of ice crystals. They're generally between 6,000 and 12,000 meters in altitude. I really hope that you enjoyed the sunrise as much as I did. It's absolutely magical out here this morning. But in the meanwhile, we're going to hand you over to Trish, who's currently viewing a group of hyena.
Yes, warming up is what we're all waiting for. Luckily, sitting in one spot here, it is warming up. I'm sure that Gingarika is very warm against her mum's tummy there. It looks very comfortable. Very snug against each other. Now, she is quite a big cub. That's because she's almost a year old. So soon she'll stop suckling. She'll be fully weaned by the time she's about 15 months or so. 15 to 18 months. I know that's quite a long time for predators to still be at their mum's side and still be suckling. That's because hyenas have so many different specializations. Strong jaws, teeth, muscles, their whole skull. Everything in that skull, the bone, the tissue, the muscle, everything takes a long time to develop. And it's mum's milk, which is really high in fats and protein, that help them to get there. So she'll be fully weaned in about another 6 months or so, but she'll be fed, obviously, because you can't just stop feeding your cub. She'll already be starting to get fewer and fewer feeds and be complaining about it. So after this, I think we're going to go back to the other den, see if the adult that was here has maybe moved to that side, where the other little ones are. Oh, there was such a big... From Gingarika's side, you know, even when you see babies feeding, human babies, after they've been drinking and drinking and drinking, they have to take a breath, a deep breath, and you see them go, and then they drink. It looked very similar to that. It makes sense because your mouth is occupied and you're not focused on breathing through your nose, and it can't be very natural because your mouth is occupied. So you're not getting as much air as you should, and then all of a sudden your body realizes and you take this deep breath. Hi Loiso, you'd like to know how do hyenas introduce their cubs to eating meat. So the first kind of introduction to meat will be something that's brought to the den. But they have to be very careful about what they bring or when they bring something to the den. The matriarch, she can bring something to the den whenever she feels like, because her cubs will be top ranked and the other cubs and the other hyenas will not dare try to take that meat away from them. But other individuals that are not matriarchs, they've got to be really careful when they bring meat to the den, and they'll try to make sure it's at a time when the matriarch is not there or higher ranked individuals are not there. So you'll never find June bringing a leg of something to the den when Heart is around. So even if the matriarch is not there, even Ribbon is not there, if Heart is around, you won't find June bringing something over, because as soon as she does, it will be Heart's, and it'll be Heart's cubs. So the first introduction is usually at the den, but a very well-timed bringing of meat to that area. And it can happen at quite a young age. Obviously, they do suckle for a very long time. They need that milk, but at a young age, they'll start to nibble on things. They may not get too much nutrients from it because they're not eating enough for it to really add to the nutrient profile that they need, but sufficiently to get them used to meat. And the action of crushing bone, or at least trying to, you'll often see them just kind of grinding their teeth and stuff, but they don't get too much out of it. But that whole practice is necessary for when they grow. At about 6 months, you'll see them nibbling little things all over the place. but it's only when their mum is the one that brings something through and nobody else is around that they're actually able to focus on trying to eat it and not defend it against everybody else. That's really interesting stuff. Hyenas are just brilliant, to me at least. Well, we're going to go to the other den and see if any action is still happening there and whether there's an adult there. And I'm going to send you over. I think it was to Pinda with a beautiful scene, but I may have misheard.
Welcome back to and Beyond Pinda. We've got a bit of a morning of scenes and scenery here because we've just come to the floodplain and we are looking down over the Munyawana River, and it is just such a fantastic scene. You can see all the mist I was talking about earlier. It really, really is just so beautiful. We've just stopped up here to scan down with our binoculars and see if we can't spot any animals. We spotted a few wildebeest and zebra in the distance, but we were just so taken with this view that we again had to pause and take it in. The sun looks like it's still kind of surrounded by an aura of mist. So this river is called the Munyawana River, and Munyawana means brackish water or like salty water in Zulu. And the reason this water, it's obviously named that because this water is like that. It joins onto Lake St. Lucia, which also joins onto the ocean, so it can often taste quite salty. Lots of the sediment around here is also the minerals in the soil is quite salty, so it gives the water in the river not a very good taste. One lone fever tree. And you see there's loads of fever trees in Zululand. There's just one here in this picture, but they always will be, you can always find them along water courses or down in valleys where you'll find quite a lot of water. Yeah, Paula, it is absolutely beautiful. I could sit up here all day long and just watch the scene moving and changing, and I don't even really feel like I need to go all the way down to the actual plain. It's just beautiful being able to see it all from up here, and we can see for miles around up here, all the way to the mountains. And those mountains create such a beautiful kind of all these different layers with the mist. I feel like I could watch this for the whole day. Just watch as the mist slowly burns off. Everything starts to get a little bit brighter. The birds will probably start to get a bit louder. They're quite loud at the moment, but they'll definitely kind of start to wake up a bit more. I can hear them now. Talking about birds, we have come here for plains game, but there is a bird that has been seen on this floodplain quite a few times, and I am yet to have spotted it. It is called a rosy-throated longclaw. So we are going to be on the hunt for one of those. I really, really hope that we get it. I've attempted a couple of times to try and see it, haven't managed to, but we'll try again today, and hopefully we'll be able to show you all the rosy-throated longclaw. Kendra, that's a good question. Some of them do. So you get the evergreen trees, and then which are have their leaves all through the year and all through the season, and then some trees will lose their leaves in winter. Not very many, but there are a few that'll lose their leaves. But not enough that this scene will be completely sparse. So you'll still have loads of beautiful big bushy green trees like that, but there may be some that look quite dead in appearance but aren't. They just they just don't have their leaves. Okay, as much as I'm sad to leave this beautiful scene, I think we are going to drop down onto the floodplain now, begin looking for the rosy-throated longclaw and any other exciting animals that we may encounter. But for now, we're going to send you over to Trico to say hello.
Good morning and welcome to and Beyond Ngala. So the plan for this afternoon, this morning, we are going to be looking for lions or reports of lion audio coming from the east, and that's where we're going to be going. My name is Trico, and behind the camera doing a fantastic job, I have Mpo with me, and I'm glad that everybody can join us. All right, so it's about maybe like 4 or 5 minutes ago, there was a lion audio coming from that direction. So that's where we're heading this morning. And as I was driving as well, I've seen some tracks of an elephant bull walking along this road here. So even though we had that lion audio, we're still, going to be keeping our eyes out for this elephant that has been walking here. There's another very chilly morning. As you can see, I have my gloves on, getting nice and warm. That was the lion audio that we had. It sounded like a male lion calling. So fingers crossed we do find it. But also in the area where we're going, it's actually close to our boundary to the Kruger National Park. So also it could be that that audio is coming from the other side of the reserve. It's nice to see some birds are starting to get a little bit active. Jackson, welcome. Glad you can join us in this beautiful morning out here at Ngala. Why are elephant bulls found alone? It's a very good question, Jackson. So what will happen is, obviously they will be born in a herd, and when they're about 14 to 15 years old, the females will kick them out, or they move out of the herd and they will live a nomadic life. But they sometimes come across some other bulls, younger and older. They all be together, keep each other company. But every now and then you'll see them, they'll join up with another herd, especially when they want to mate. You'll see them joining other herds.
So it's very, very normal to find themselves sometimes being alone. But females and the youngsters, most of the time they'll be together. So it looks like there's some couple of hyena tracks as well, spotted hyenas walking up and down on this road. I believe one viewer is asking, can I tell the difference between a female and a male lion call? A very good question. So, I think sometimes you can, because remember, most of the time I find that males are the ones that will call quite often, because they're the ones that have to defend their territories and patrol their territories. So they tend to be the ones that actually call most of the time. And what I found is with the females, most of the time when they call, they have this sort of like low sort of contact call, while the males will be this huge roar. You know, they will go on for few minutes. So yeah, you can tell. Oh, I think I can see an elephant bull, so probably the one that we're following up on. Let me try to move a little bit forward. I mean, it's on the other side of the riverbed. As you can see, this other area here, it's quite thick, so if I do stop here, I don't think we'll be able to see it properly. I think I'm gonna loop around, try to get to that elephant. But in the meanwhile, I'm gonna send you over to Pinda. I think they have some exciting birds.
Welcome back. We've come down to the floodplain, and the first bird that we've been greeted with or greeted by is a grey heron. Shame, and he's looking very cold, and he looks a little bit wet, maybe from the dew and the mist, a little bit scraggly. I think that he is just sitting there waiting for the sun to get a bit stronger so that he can warm up nicely and feel a little bit more, a little bit more alive, get a little bit more strength. I think he's taking a little bit longer than all the other birds to kind of get going this morning, because I can hear, it's kind of get going this morning, because I can hear, it's really loud beat. Yeah, I'm also just looking through my binos, and it looks like his the lower part of his bill, his lower mandible, is slightly pinkish, and the upper is a little bit dark, which leads me to believe that he's not fully grown yet. He's still a juvenile. When he gets to adulthood, he'll have a yellow bill. It'll be completely yellow, and you can see it's a little bit kind of two-toned at the moment. So he's still a youngster. Oh, and just looking at the sun hitting the side of his body, I can actually feel it hitting my face, and it is beautiful. It is a very welcome feeling. It's just kind of very slowly warming my cheek, the only part of me that's exposed to the elements. You can just imagine him as well, how it's kind of just slowly drying his feathers from the outside and slowly warming him from the outside of his feathers all the way down to his body. I can tell you that it's a good feeling. He's even starting to look a bit more alive as he's warming up. Joshua, that's an extremely good question, and I have to say that I don't know the exact answer to it, but I'd have to say that yes, I really do think that they do. I know that feathers, each little band on a feather that makes up the feather, have these little what you'd call maybe like teeth, almost like teeth of a comb, that fit into one another. So they kind of all lock together. And that's how they all lock together. I don't know if you've ever played with a feather and how you, like, when you pull it down, they all kind of fragment apart. And then when you smooth it up again, they all stick back together. And that I'm fairly certain will create a bit of a barrier to the cold air. And also, if you've ever watched birds on a cool day or a cold morning, you see how they fluff up like that. And I think that that'll create almost like a little blanket for themselves. It allows them to lock in their own body heat. And just keep themselves nice and warm. So the outer feathers will lock in the heat, whereas the inner nice, soft, fluffy feathers will keep them nice and warm. Those nice downy feathers that you can imagine. And then in the summer, or when it's very, very hot, you'll see birds actually looking very, very slender. And they push their feathers down against their bodies, and I think that would allow heat to be released very easily from their body and very quickly, so it doesn't stay close to them, keeping them hot on hot days. That is, yeah, I mean, that's just from what I've observed. I've never read anything about that, but yeah, I mean, I hope that makes logical sense. Even this guy, you can see he's kind of starting to slim down a little bit as he heats up. Anyways, we're going to see what else we can see on the floodplain, if there are any other interesting birds. We're going to send you over to Trico, who's apparently caught up with his elephant.
So welcome back, everybody. So remember we had those tracks that I was talking about earlier on of this elephant bull, and we saw him from a distance, and he decided to go down into this riverbed, and he was busy feeding on the reeds that you can see behind him there. And right now it looks like he wants to cross back up again. There it is. I think we're going to reverse a little bit. Let's see if we can have another angle. Looks like he's going to cross onto the other side. And also as we're driving, there's a little bit of a breeze of air blowing south where that elephant was walking. South to east, and could smell like a very strong musty smell. So this elephant is in must. Listen to that in the distance. That's incredible. Sounds like black-backed jackals calling in the distance. All right, we're gonna loop around. And we're going to go over onto the other side where that elephant is. Try to see maybe we can have another better view of him.
Helping kids to fall in love with nature is critical. Our future depends on it. Wild Earth has had the opportunity to take many children from all over the world on safari, some from right here on our doorstep.
Welcome to those of you watching from Hananani Primary School, just outside Dixie Village.
They love learning about nature because now we're having a crisis of rhino poaching. We all need each other, so it is very, very important for the kids to learn about animals, on how to save them or even to protect them.
My favorite animal is an elephant because they are very cute, although they're eating the trees or the plants, but they are still very cute to me.
The way they explained the animals, asking questions, and we saw our names on the screen, it was so exciting.
Our bodies are made up of about 60% water, which means that in a very short space of time, you can dehydrate completely. A relatively efficient way of collecting water early in the morning is to take an absorbent material like a sock and to walk through the grass, absorbing the condensed dewdrops on the grass. Once the material is saturated, you can then squeeze it out into a container, or you can suck it out directly into your mouth.
I love being a cam-up for Wild Earth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
Guys, just watch what's happening. See, watch the elephant, watch the lions. See, the first ones to run are the cubs. Can you see them? They are right here. I'm not sure how scared you were, but I was quite nervous. But absolutely incredible.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, we've picked up on male leopard tracks, most likely Tsabangumi, that we followed into Bufosuk. Took us into an area of no signal. So we've now returned back to Juma, see if we can go back to where the female were. Bit of miscommunication on the radio. It seems the tracks that were called in on Triple M there were actually male. So we're going to go back to where we last had those female tracks and see if we can figure that out as well. Lovely cool conditions. There's a very good chance that this female's still moving. Lorraine, if anything, the mist helps with a bit of freshness because you can see if they've stepped on the wettish ground, so like the dew. The mist itself, though, doesn't really affect the track, but if they've stepped on the moisture, then you kind of know at what sort of time that they walked. If the moisture's on top of the track, you know it was a lot later last night. But not too much dew this morning. Okay, well, we're going to carry on along here to the next junction where I think the last tracks were seen, and I'll send you back over to Trish.
These warthogs have obviously come from Hoedspruit, because I don't know when the last time I had a relaxed warthog sighting like this was. There's even another big adult in the back. This is the night. I mean, I even drove past and then noticed them and then reversed, and they were still here. We've got like 8 piglets, or 8 warthogs, and 3 piglets. Oh, yeah, maybe 4. One looks a little bit older. There's only 1 female. The other 2 are males. And there's 1 even in the distance there that's also a male. You can tell just by the size of the warts. They have really big, males have really big warts. That's because it needs to help them when they fight. Now if you look at this one, much smaller warts. You can actually hear it chewing. He's such a beauty, that one. Just have a look at his muscles if he turns. And that's one of the little piglets there. Not terribly little. I would call it a sub-adulty. That's my piece of vegetation. So you can see that it's still got that kind of beard, or yeah, I was going to say moustache, beard on the side of its face to make it appear like it's got tusks, but you can see that its tusks have already started to grow. So moving out of piglet stage there. Hi, Jasmine. You'd like to know if their hair's ever shed. Check him chasing the other male. Ever shed, depending on the season. No, so most of the animals here in South Africa, they don't do that because there's not a huge fluctuation in temperature. It's our drastic change has more to do with the availability of moisture. So rain or no rain. And even though they look quite, like you see their long hair on their backs, that mane-like hair, they don't shed that, even though it looks like a good candidate to be shed, but they don't. I think it makes them look very cool. That long hair and the way it falls on their back. Now I spotted another male at the back there. There he goes. So while the usual aggregation is a female and her offspring, a sounder, you'll often get males accompanying them. Usually this is when they want to mate, but not always. It's not very strict. It can be quite loose, their aggregations. Like you see here, there were 3 males with a female and her offspring. Although one without big warts is obviously the dominant male. So like I said, they'll be loose, but one male will be dominant. Lishy. Hi, Lishy. You want to know what's the difference between a warthog and a wild boar? Well, they're Vishy. Hi, Vishy. You want to know what's the difference between a warthog and a wild boar? So, a wild boar, we don't get wild boar here, we get bush pig here. But a wild boar is something that you're going to find in the Americas and Europe or Eurasia. So it's not one that we know too much about. But here we get a bush pig also that looks quite different to a warthog. I mean, if you know them well. Warthog have these very obvious big tusks. See that? They have the warts on their face. A bush pig looks more pig-like. Sort of a more slender face, tapering into a more slender face with a nose that looks a lot more pig-like. And they also have pointed ears. They have little tufts on them, the bush pig do. But warthog have that a little less so. Oh, look at you sitting there like that. Aren't you sweet? Bush pigs' males are a little bigger or heavier than warthogs as well. But wild boar, which is the one you asked about, Vishy, we don't get that here. But remember that they're all part of the family Suidae, which is basically pigs, boars, hogs, all those things, all those names we have for basically pigs. But they're all just different genuses or genera within that. Okay, well, this was awesome. This was about the best warthog sighting we've had together, but I'm going to send you over to Pinda with an interesting bird.
Welcome back. So what we have framed up for you is a yellow-throated longclaw. And we decided to show you, just so that you knew what we were looking for. We're looking for the rosy-throated longclaw, which is a lot less common than its cousin, the yellow-throated. So we see this bird quite a lot on Pinda. Its habitat is kind of grasslands and open savanna felts. So we see it quite a bit on Pinda, but its cousin, the rosy-throated longclaw, is a lot more habitat-specific. So it is usually found in kind of marshy grasslands, almost completely waterlogged grasslands. So that is why the floodplain is a good place to look for the rosy-throated longclaw. And having said that, we haven't really had them on Pinda before, because this floodplain used to just be a grassland, and then after the rains that we've just had over summer, it actually became completely waterlogged. So even all the grass that you can see behind this bird, that was all completely underwater. And the river that we showed you earlier, the Munyawana, was completely dry. It just had, it was flooded, but before that it was just grass, and now it's a river. So this area has become the perfect habitat for that rosy-throated longclaw. I actually want to show you, maybe in the book, the map of the rosy-throated longclaw, so that you know kind of how rare it is. Their status is actually near threatened here in South Africa, so let's see if we can get them for you. All right. So got a nice comparison of all of the three. There's the Cape Longclaw, and then the yellow-throated that we were just looking at. I think it was a juvenile, so it wasn't as nice and bright as you see him there. And then the rosy-throated over there. And then the map, Cape Longclaw, yellow-throated. You see we get it quite a lot here where we are on the side. And then rosy-throated, you can see just in the top, just below Mozambique there, we just get it. And I mean, even it only just kind of makes it onto the map where Pinda is. So quite rare, not very easy to see, and that is why we are searching for him today and hoping to find it. Oh, but he's still sitting there. See, all the birds are very lethargic this morning, still just waiting for that sun to get through their feathers. But there we go, he's starting to be a bit more active, preening himself, getting his feathers ready for flight, ready to take off. But you can see he's a little bit less bright than that one I showed you in the book. I think he's just a juvenile. He's not got his full plumage just yet. That black collar will become very prominent around his neck once he's fully grown. And we're just listening very carefully for that rosy-throated longclaw's call. Yes, Anna-Marie, he is all fluffed up for the morning chill, and you can see he's also preening his feathers. And they'll often fluff up when they're doing that, just because it makes each individual feather easier to, preen, I suppose. And they actually have a gland in their bill, at the back of their bill, that secretes a bit of an oil. And that is what they do when they are pulling each little feather through their mandibles. They're actually secreting a little oil or a little fluid onto the feathers, and that just keeps them in really, really nice condition. Probably helps them to keep the heat in or the heat out, depending on how hot or cold it is. Helps them to fly, and it also is good for getting rid of little parasites, like little fleas and things that like to live up and amongst their feathers. Gosh, he really is just sitting here though. Thought he would have flown off ages ago, but I think, like I said, it's a cold morning and he's just wanting to get nice and warm before he goes anywhere. Ah, there he goes. We are going to send you back to Trishala, who's having a little bumble, and we are going to continue with our bumble and our search for this rosy-throated longclaw.
Oh, I really hope that she'll find it. That would be really awesome, and I love that she's put herself to this mission from the morning. It always helps when you have something that you really want to find out on drive. I mean, I wasn't particularly hoping for a great warthog sighting. It's not something you usually think about first thing in the morning, but that was great. That was really, really awesome. In Hoedspruit, the warthogs just kind of walk everywhere, and especially like in the wildlife estate, they're all over the place. So Gert and I say that those pigs are probably, or those warthogs rather, are from the wildlife estate. They'll come right up to your car. When you leave Pick and Pay and you've got groceries in hand, they'll come right up to the car. You'd like to know if all their tusks are curved like that. Some have more of a curl than others, but you're not going to find them straight out unless there's something that's wrong with that warthog in the development of those tusks. But it's not ordinary for them to be straight. But the angle of the curl can be varied. When they're small, if you saw that young one, that one's tusks are only so big, you know, they're just starting to pop out, so they haven't achieved the spiral or the curl yet. But what they actually, well, I'll show it to you while we just chat at the dam. And there's nothing happening at the dam, as you can see. Very chilled, but I just wanted to stop here so I could just show you what's happening with their tusks. So there's these tusks that are up here, right? And we all know that tusks are modified teeth. So there's the tusks that curl. But those, I mean, they look very dangerous, but it's actually these ones at the bottom that are most dangerous. So they grind up against these shorter tusks on the bottom. So when you see them chewing, you'll see that those tusks fit really nicely against the bottom ones. But their constant moving against each other, grinding up against each other, makes these bottom ones very, very sharp. So those ones are the ones that will inflict damage on you. But the curly ones are more for display than for actual damage. So it's always important that when you're on bushwalk and things like that, and you see a termite mound with a burrow, or anywhere that there's it looks like there could be a burrow, just in general. I mean, I've said this to you before. Don't go sticking your hand or anything or your body into holes out in the bush, because you have no idea what could come out. And one of those things that could come out is a warthog flying out, and those tusks will cause a lot of pain and rip a lot of flesh. Also, big warthogs, they're small. They look small, right? But they are really dense. I mean that not in the brain way, but in the body way. They are very dense. They have a lot of muscle. So a big male can weigh the same as a hyena. So a big male can weigh 70, 80 kgs. I mean, I'm talking like a really staunch one. So if you imagine that coming flying out of a burrow with its sharpened tusks at the bottom there, it's not a happy ending, that story. Anyway, we're going to now move. We're going to move to a happier topic, which is going to go return to the den area and see if anything's still happening. JB is on bushwalk. I bet you that he is trying to avoid any warthog burrows.
Good morning and welcome back to Bushwalk. Not much was happening at Ndlovu Dam, so we decided to take a walk. So we've probably covered some distance of 1 kilometer, but we've already been trailing some buffalo. However, our buffalo has gone through this area, but what we did find is a large amount of giraffe tracks. And if I just want to point out over here, you can see that it's an incredibly elongated track, which will fit perfectly into a rectangular little box. And quite often to the front, we also have a little mound of swirl that forms to the front of the foot. By the appearance of this animal has been moving, and what we can see is he stepped over here and his foot twisted and moved the soil. There's also a little Franklin track over here. We've got a little antlion track right over here, or antlion larvae, who's got his little pit over here, waiting for some ants. But I just want to show you all the disturbance that they've created. And when we have so many different giraffe tracks all pointing into different directions, especially in an open area like this, and we see this twisting and turning of the feet. This is quite often where we find that the giraffe bulls are busy fighting, which we also refer to as necking. Here you can see some more giraffe tracks of different sizes, and here we can see how the soil has been disturbed right in front of us. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to push one or other off balance, and that's normally how they will obtain dominance when they are fighting for access to females and close by to them. We also find quite often that one of the strange behaviors which we see with a number of different animals is dominance mating, where a male giraffe which will win a combat against another male giraffe will mount that other male and then give him a few little quick moves and thrusts and then send him off packing. And we often find that with young animals as well, especially lion, seen it with wild dog as well, adults as well, where they will mock mate or dominance mate with other individuals in the group. Of the things I find particularly interesting is when I started guiding, I always thought that giraffe would have had a long neck that they can outcompete other herbivores. But one of the evolutionary strategies for evolving an incredibly long neck is actually to push over your opponent. And that's why giraffe evolved these incredibly long necks. In general, we also find that the males are much more muscular, thick-necked compared to the females, as females don't push and shove one another around by necking. We're just going to continue and go see if we can pick up on the trail of our buffalo again. But in the meanwhile, we're going to hand you over to Pindo, who's got a surprise or two for you.
Welcome back. Got yet another very misty scene for you. This time with some zebra. Lots of the animals are like, you can see they're quite inactive. They're just staying very still, all just trying to warm up before they start their day. Some birds up in the foreground, Wattled Lapwing. I don't know if you can hear a very incessant call. That's the Blacksmith Lap Wing. They're calling a little bit off to our left. I think they're alarm calling. They're quite yeah, there you go, you can hear them. Sure, I thought it was flying right at me. I was ready to duck. They're quite formidable parents. They will attack you if you come too close to their nest. If they feel their nest is threatened, they'll make that noise that you could hear, and they'll just dive bomb you flat out, the whole time. Dive bomb. Same as these ones that you can see here, the Wattled Lapwings, so of the same family but a different species. The Wattled Lapwing, and that you can hear is the Blacksmith, but they are both quite scary parents. These ones are a lot less active than the Blacksmith, just sitting, warming up, not feeling threatened by us. If you live in South Africa, and you play golf, you might be aware or be familiar with the Blacksmith Lap Wing, because they do enjoy a golf course and they do enjoy dive bombing golfers. Beautiful flower. This is one of the hibiscus family. I'm not sure exactly which one it is. I'll have to find out, but they're beautiful. After all the rain, they just came popping up all over the place, and they stand up just vertically up out the ground on a very long straight stalk with one or two flowers on them. A beautiful purple center. That's what I love about this floodplain. There's just so much to see. Be it flowers or birds or animals or just really pretty scenes. There you go, a few more of those hibiscuses. You can see them sticking straight up into the air. And they're also quite low-lying, marshy areas. Right, we might move around and see if we can get a bit closer to maybe a herd of wildebeest that we can see in the distance. And they're all actually lying down in the grass, still having quite a late start to their morning. But we're going to go and see if we can get a bit closer to them.
Do you dream of an African holiday in unparalleled luxury? Where your days are spent in the company of wildlife and cooling off in your very own plunge pool? Well, this month's prize may be the one for you. Expertly camouflaged into the unspoiled environment of the world-famed Sabi Sand Game Reserve, it's hard not to fall in love with Simbambili. Sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer before the end of May, and you and a friend could be jetting off to this ultimate escape from reality. A luxurious safari and spa getaway wrapped up in one impressive package. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Take 27. I'm Carol from Chicago, USA. This is me 5 years ago. No music, no editing, real time. I was hooked. Thank you so much for that, Wild Earth.
I had lost my job, and I also lost one of my pets. So Wild Earth has seen me through very hard times, and I just want to thank all of you for being there for me when I needed you most.
We love you. We start and end our day with you, teaching our grandkids all about nature through you, your wonderful educational safaris.
We really do appreciate being on safari with you, especially when it's cold and wintry in Canada.
And considering we've been in lockdown for 18 months here in Saudi and have not been able to fly back to South Africa, I want to thank you for bringing your safari back into my life every single day and night. I love it, love it, love it.
My name is Lauren and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
Welcome back everybody. Well, we managed to find where those tracks are going, and they're heading north on this other road. But what we found over here, which is very cool, very interesting. Which one are you on, Darby? This one. What we found over here, beautiful fresh tracks of an aardvark in the sand. Let's give you an idea of the size. Here is the front foot. 2 toes are seen with the nails. Here's the back foot. 1 big toe, 2 big toes, 3 the outer toe. We can actually see the inner toe, which is not often seen. Very, very nice. Beautiful tracks of an aardvark heading north, and they're fresh. You can see the coloration on the sand. So on top of the dew, or should I say, there wasn't really much dew. Just turn that radio off. Okay, we're going to keep heading north. We had kudus shouting over here. That loud, whoa! Nothing like that. That's more like a baboon. And we found the tracks of a female heading up here, very, very fresh. So having the radio call earlier, following up on other tracks, was a completely different animal and a different sex altogether, which has taken away a little bit of our time. That's all right. We're going to keep looking. I reckon female leopard is just in this block. Wonder if she's looking to catch a kudu. Kudu shouted. We found the kudu, but we couldn't find anybody. Kudu would be a little bit too big for a leopard, although it did have a little youngster. Okay, very good. Well, we're going to carry on, see if we can find these tracks again, maybe even a leopard, and send you over to JP on Bushwalk.
Good morning and welcome back to Bushwalk. We've just found a whole group of Precessionary caterpillars over here. So this is a larval stage of a moth, which we call a reticulated bagnet moth. So what you probably will notice is that they've got a large amount of spines on top of them, and these are adaptations to protect them against potential predators. And out of experience, I stay well away from them, as I had them in my clothes before, and they can create a serious irritation on the skin, which is definitely going to need some antihistamine to settle that allergic reaction that they can trigger. In the last few months, I've actually seen quite a few of the students I worked with that had quite bad reactions to these when they brush past them in vegetation. So when I walk through the bush, I always make sure that I keep my eyes open if they're in the plant. And I know specifically that I must look for raisin bushes. And this is one of the raisin bushes or grevia species. And it seems that they always prefer this as one of their larval foods. And you just know that don't brush past there, because what is going to follow is not so pleasant. So sometimes we find that they can form groups of absolutely hundreds of them. And one of the things that they'll do is they'll form these incredibly long little trains, and you'll see them moving through on the open in the road, once again knowing that they can get away without being bothered by any other predators because of the protective little spines. So even in the adult moth, what we find is if you sit and read at night and you've got a headlamp on and they come straight towards you, or you're on your mobile phone, that powdery scales that come off from the wings can also create an incredibly irritating sensation on the skin. So I'm going to try and zoom in there. There's a whole group of them, a few hundred of them all clustered together. Now, one of the things that we do find sometimes is that the cuckoos will actually be able to eat them. However, none of the cuckoos are still around. However, maybe up to a week ago, there was still a few of them that was lagging behind. But most of those have now all migrated back into Central Africa or into Europe, depending on the species of cuckoo which we are looking at. And they also often will catch these hairy caterpillars, and they will provide them to the females as a little gift. It's almost like a little going on a date, providing a fancy piece of jewelry or a nice meal. In this case, it's just a little caterpillar, and by the fact that she can, that will then impress the female, and then the female will decide if she wants to keep or not keep this male cuckoo as a potential mate. They also sometimes bring up these in little balls, the hairs, so that it doesn't go through the intestines, but are regurgitated out. Yeah, good morning, Sarah, and welcome to the show. They are quite big worms. They're probably roughly, if I have to take a guess, 6 centimeters at length. And then in terms of thickness, they appear even bigger because of those little hairs which we see on them. They almost probably look like 2 centimeters thick with the hair combined onto the body. I just always find it fascinating how they can absolutely denude these raisin trees within a few bushes, within a few days of feeding on it, and then they'll move off. And once again, we always think of it as such a negative impact when they strip off all the leaves. But what happens is all the waste product that has been created by these caterpillars then fall down to the ground, and that gets reabsorbed as nutrients and minerals into the soil, and the plant will then take that up in its root system and use it to supplement growth again when it comes to forming leaves again. A lot of the plants that we see over here, they will start losing their leaves as a protection and not wasting any energy. So we're going to just watch these caterpillars a little bit longer, but in the meanwhile we're going to hand you back over to Pinda and go and see what they've got up to.
Hello, hello. Got some interesting stuff He was kind of obscured from us. I couldn't see who that male. See the far left-hand side, that's the male. And I saw him try and mount someone or one of the other wildebeest, and then now we just saw that it was not the one of that side. I don't know if he got a bit confused or was a little bit intimidated by the size of the adult females, but yeah, he tried to monsters, which is obviously not what he was meant to be doing. It is mating season at the moment, so he will have a higher level of test. But it was quite interesting. Like we came around here and we were watching the main herd, and he came walking over from quite a distance, and the whole herd kind of stopped what they were doing, stopped feeding, and all started walking towards him almost to greet him. There wasn't much of a draft. He just immediately tried to mount one of those poor 1-year-olds. Those are probably, well, they are the youngsters. Okay, we are going to send you over to Trishala. I think that we might lose signal soon.
I have something very exciting here in frame. It's difficult to see, but it's possibly our best Slender Mongoose sighting, just in terms of duration. The last one we had, it was Gert and I together too. The last mongoose sighting we had together, it was one that was busy grooming itself. It also lasted for quite some time, but this one, we've been sitting here for a while, and the Slender Mongoose has not left this termite mound. Now again, small bodies, definitely not as small as Dwarf Mongoose. These guys are about double the size, maybe even a little bit more. So Dwarf Mongoose about 250 to 300 grams. These guys more like 600 grams. 500 to 600 grams. Oh, look at that sleepy face. But the small body still needs to be warmed up, and a termite mound like this is a great spot to be in. Catching the sun plus the warmth emanating from the vents of the termite mound. Oh, have we finally got enough energy to get going? What's really interesting about these guys is that they live a very different lifestyle, or rather a different type of social organization than that of the Sorry guys if I sound a little weird. Let's see if I can do anything to fix it. I think that's a little bit better. No, not better. Okay. Oh, there we go. I've just got to hold it up in the air. Okay. Anyway, what I was saying is their social organization is very different to that of the Dwarf Mongoose. The Dwarf Mongoose are gregarious. They work together when they're breeding. They're always found in groups. These guys, the Slender Mongoose, you only find one or maybe two together, or a mom and her offspring. Otherwise, they're pretty solitary. It's actually not quite known, but what they're thought to have is sort of loose territories, but they don't seem to defend them very much. So it's considered more of like a home range. And then those home ranges of the males overlap quite a few home ranges of the females. But they behave a little bit territorially in those areas, but it seems not to be enough to call it really a territory. So quite a different lifestyle to that of a Dwarf Mongoose. And you can see that head is really nice and pointed, that mongoose look, and a lighter color. And they have that black tip to their tail, which makes them makes you able to distinguish them very clearly, because the actual color of their coat varies quite a lot. I've seen Slender Mongoose with a yellowy coat, but because of the black tip on the tail, you're able to tell that it's a Slender Mongoose. Not in real life. I've seen pictures of them, because their coats can range such a wide range of colors. Franklin's not very happy there, but these impala are fine. Nina, you'd like to know if it's true that mongoose are hyenas' closest relatives? It is true that mongoose are also what we call feliforms. So they're in the same suborder as hyenas. Those are our cat-like animals. But that basically includes hyenas, so these feliformia, that cat-like animals, they include hyenas, they include mongoose, and they include viverids. So your viverids are your civet and your genet. So both of those animals are close relatives to hyenas. Now it's interesting to think that when we look, we see, okay, we haven't seen civets so much. Oh, look at that. But when you look at a genet, mongoose, and hyenas, size-wise, there's such a difference. But if you look carefully, you can see the similarities. For me, it's the shape of the face. And just something about their, I don't know, for me, like they're a good mix. They really, to me, look neither, that whole group, neither like cats nor dogs. But they are more closely related to cats because they're cat-like. Look at that face. There you can see the clear black tip on the tail too. Look at those paws facing forward. Very, very cute. I think this is a slender mongoose that I've seen before in this area. Because there was one right around here yesterday morning. Hi, Sarah Sunflower. You say, what a fierce looking face. I must agree with you. And a fierce pose as well. Look at it just perched there, surveying quarantine. What shall I do today? What looks tasty? Hi, Bernie Lulu. You say it's incredible to think that this cutie could catch a snake. Yeah, it is. Not just catch it, but actively want to. It's not just a product of being in the same spot as a snake or something, but actively seek a snake out for food and be successful in catching it. It is amazing to think that. I'm so amazed that didn't move away as soon as we arrived. I hope, because quarantine is one of those places where we get lots and lots of vehicles going through. It's an area where you'd have to go through to go to the lodge or to one of them. And lots of vehicles pass here because it links to the main road that you could go to the gate. So what I'm hoping is that this slender mongoose you have seen here before gets used to us, gets used to vehicles, and we can have more sightings like this instead of just that fleeting sighting of it kind of scurrying away. That would be great. I think it's already starting to happen. I mean, I'm speaking in my normal voice, a normal level or loudness. Gert and I have both moved around in the vehicle, and it's just looked at us. Normally this that would be a cue for it to go. Even the slightest movement, they're watching so intently that they pick up the slightest movement you do, and off they scurry. But this one, it's been looking at us, it knows we're here. And I think we're watching the beginning of a beautiful relationship between you all and the slender mongoose. Look at how it does that. Did you see how it pushed its back up, its spine up, to flatten its body a little bit more? That collects a little bit greater amounts of sunlight, rather, on that side of the body. Now the other side. Got a sun both sides. This has been such a beautiful, beautiful slender mongoose sighting. I'm really glad that we managed to get it and we managed to watch it together.
On board we have a very special guest joining our live safari today. We have Sue Fogel, who has bought a ticket to Dream.
It was an easy decision to purchase a ticket to Dream because I've been working with animals for my whole life, and I think what Wild Earth does here, bringing live safaris into your home, is just remarkable.
If you want to go on safari with a Wild Earth guide whilst honing your bush knowledge and of course featuring in one of our shows, then head over to our website.
Well, since I've been watching for such a long time, I thought it would be a good idea for me to come here in person.
Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer and you could be making your first ever on-screen appearance.
If you have a chance to do it, I highly recommend it. To feel the sun on your face and the wind in your hair and to smell the smells and just kind of be in the animal's presence. It's undescribable. I highly recommend it.
For many years, Wild Earth has taken viewers from around the world to the Mara Triangle, a place of majestic beauty and abundant wildlife. But it wasn't always like this. Before 2001, it was infested with poachers. Illegal harvesting and hunting was rife. Now the situation couldn't be more different. The hard work and dedication of the Mara Conservancy has revolutionized this magical land. But now, the loss of revenue from tourism has created a grave crisis. The Mara Conservancy needs help if they are to continue protecting the reserve and supporting the local communities whose livelihood depend on its survival.
It's a huge privilege to be in these incredible places with these amazing animals. I love filming lions. When they do get up and do something, it's always spectacular. When they are playing, are incredibly fun to watch, especially sub-adults and cubs. I love being in the bush and working in these incredible places with these amazing animals. We want to bring it to you so that you can almost feel like you're right there and be able to experience it and enjoy it the way we are.
Alright, welcome back. So, we decided now, the plan, we're going to start to head sort of central west. There were reports of a leopard or leopard rasping in that area. So we're going to head there and go have a look and see if maybe we'll... One moment. Okay, just some hyena tracks. So yeah, we're gonna head into that area and see if maybe we can find any signs of that leopard has been reported. So we're gonna head down into this riverbed and cut west. So far it's been fairly quiet. But I think it's because of this, you know, chilliness of the morning. But I'm pretty sure as the morning progresses, we will potentially see some animals start to move a little bit more. So in that area where we're going, I know there's a particular female that hangs around that area quite a lot. That area forms part of her territory there. So it's worth to do a little bit of a drive around there. Yeah, and see if maybe we can find her. Welcome, Frankie. I'm glad that you can join us in this beautiful morning here in Ngala. Does it get much more cooler in the mornings than the evenings? I think it's the same, eh? I think as soon as the sun goes down, it gets as cold as it gets in the early mornings as well. Especially even here where we're driving in these riverbeds, it gets absolutely cold because remember, during the night, all the cold air descends down into these riverbeds or in the drainage lines, which makes it much more colder down here. But as soon as the sun comes up and heats up these areas, you know, that cold air eventually move out of these areas. And there's also a lot of elephant activity down in this riverbed. You can see there's a lot of elephant dung. These elephants love moving in and around these riverbeds because right now, as we are in winter, most of the water holes start to dry out. And these elephants tend to visit these riverbeds to look for water. So they will be digging in and around this riverbed, looking for nice, clean water here. can see on the sides of this riverbed, you can see most of these trees are quite tall and very green because of the amount of water that is underground here. Look and see, maybe I can show you guys some of the diggings that these elephants come here to do. But in the meanwhile, while I'm still looking for these diggings in this riverbed, I'll send you over to Trishala. I think she's on a bumble.
Elephants sound like a great idea. I haven't picked up any clues on elephants though anywhere around, but I'm quite close to Gallagher Pan, so let's have a look around here. Often they like the drainage, so maybe we will be lucky. I must say I didn't see any evidence of elephant. Since our Slender Mongoose sighting, I've seen 2 squirrels that are trying to get my attention, as if they felt bad or felt left out by my Slender Mongoose sighting. I like to think that the animals play with me like that. Of course, they're just being themselves. Doesn't mean I can't think of it like that, though. I'm almost at Gallagher Pan, so let's hope that there'll be some elephants there. If not, maybe moving towards the pan. I'm going to send you over to Kim in Pinda while I make my way.
Welcome back. We've got a beautiful scene here of a big bull elephant in one of our big watering holes. And he's just loving it. You can see he's actually just walking around inside of this watering hole. Oh, he's sitting down. Looks like he's just having a lovely time. Shame, although I must say, apparently he's got a little bit of an injured leg, and I think that is why he's in the water. He's just trying to soothe it. Because like we've been saying, it's a very cold day, and generally elephants only get into the water when they want to cool down. It'll be interesting to see what he does with that tree, or is he just going to go past it? All the cormorants. He's shaking the tree. Oh my gosh. Shame, and they've got their nests in there. I can't believe what we're watching right now. There's no need for him to do that because obviously there are no leaves on that. He's just being boisterous. Shame, well, hopefully you don't see any chicks going flying. The cormorants went flying for their lives. They're not nearly as aggressive as the lapwings, who would be dive bombing the hell out of him at the moment. Well, they are actually. Well, no, they're just flying away. No, they are. They're coming back. Yeah, it looks, well, I mean, they're just flying around him. obviously hoping that he's not going to destroy their home. Uh-oh. I think he's using it as a bit of a rubbing post at the moment. Yeah, look, he's scratching his ear up against it. Doesn't care that it's someone's home. Shame. It's not very nice of him. But he's, like I mentioned, obviously in a little bit of pain, and he's not very worried about anyone else except for himself at the moment, it seems. There you go, leaving them in peace. One of the cormorants has gone back to that tree, checking that everything's still intact. There you go, you can see the cormorants going back down to their nest after that little earthquake that they encountered. Shame, but yeah, yesterday we saw this elephant. Actually, he was in another watering hole, but he was just lying in the mud on the side with his leg kind of really deep in the mud. I think, again, just trying to soothe it. But we have told the habitat team, and they are going to keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't get any worse. And if it does get worse, or if it doesn't get better, then they will actually intervene and try and help him out a little bit. But that water must be freezing. I don't envy him at the moment, having a swim this time of day in the middle of winter. Yeah, Darcy, if there were any chicks, then they would have had a rock to sleep, or rather a rock awake. But I think most of the cormorant chicks at the moment are actually the same size as the adults. So they've all hatched and are sitting on the nests. So some of those birds that you saw fly away might actually have been the chicks. They look very similar to the adults, but their whole front is white, whereas the adults are just kind of the top half, so just their breast, as in white-breasted cormorants, is white. Yeah, so they're adult-sized, but just a bit not quite those colours. Oh, what a pretty scene. Let's see if we can spot any of the youngsters. They also look a little bit grey, but they might all be getting their kind of breeding, adult plumage starting up now. Oh, elephant's heading out of the water. We're going to lose sight of him soon. They are very noisy as well, the cormorants. White-breasted cormorants are actually amazing. I know I mentioned earlier about the Munyawana and the salty water and us being quite close to the ocean here. These birds, the adults, will actually fly all the way to the coast and back again to regurgitate what they catch in the ocean for their chicks, which is really interesting. It's about, I'd say, maybe 50 k's to the coast almost. So quite a flight there and back. I think some lions have been found, so we're going to head on over to those, and while we do that, we are going to send you over to Ngala.
So, welcome back, everybody. Quite very exciting as we're driving this riverbed, looking for that leopard that we promised that we're going to be looking for. All of a sudden, we come across these magnificent lions laying down in this riverbed here. can see the one right in front of us. That is a female, and the one right at the back, that is a male. So this female here, she's actually one of the oldest females that we have here. She's part of the Birmingham Pride, and this female is around 14 to 15 years old. So a very old female. And that male there in the distance is around 4 years old. As you can see, the mane in and around his neck. So if you did join us yesterday morning or in the afternoons, you'd recall that I was talking about him as well. Being as old as he is, but he still hangs around the pride, even though, you know, his fathers or his stepdads don't want him anymore in this pride, because he's quite old and he needs to move out of their territory. But he keeps on coming back. But one of the reasons could be the fact that he's alone, and he knows that once he leaves, and if he leaves by himself, because there's no other lions in this pride that are the same age as him. The other ones, they're around 2 to 2.5 years old. I mean, they could potentially also live with him, but he's been spending some time away and being alone. But then he knows that once he leaves, I mean, it'll be very difficult for him, also because he has a limp. So that could be dangerous for him moving in and out of other lions or other lions' territories. It looks like a female. She's interested in something in a distance. As you can see, she's staring in that particular direction. And she could have smelled something, or she could have seen something. Because remember, their eyesight is quite amazing, quite good, way better than us. She's potentially seeing something that we can't see from here. Welcome, Cameron. Glad that you can join us. Cameron, I believe you're asking, do predators get active in the evenings even when it's cold? Yes, Cameron, they'll still do. Because remember, for example, with these lions, most of the time during the day, they just, well, the whole of the day, they'll just be laying down, sleeping, conserving energy. In the nighttime, they'll start to move, even in the cold. But then also that depends. I mean, if especially with the female lions, if they're full and they've eaten, they don't need to move around a lot. They need to conserve their energy. If they're hungry, they'll move quite a lot, even in the cold. You can see that female, she keeps on lifting her head. Just picking up a scent in the distance. For now, we're going to keep on staying with these animals. because it's starting to get much warmer now. They'll eventually move into some shade. I think that'll be nice to see when they move around. But in the meanwhile, I'm going to send you over to Trishala.
Well, it's getting warmer now, so these little guys will be moving out of the shade and into the sunlight, where they'll busily be foraging. So now we are on the opposite end from where we saw the Slender Mongoose a little bit earlier. And we have a little business of Dwarf Mongoose, quite close to Zoe's Road on the western side here. They're busy foraging. Oh, what have you got there? Looking for any little things they can get their mouths around. Oh, no, don't bound away. Still kind of see them in the distance there. At least now with the short grass, it's easier to spot them. And their chocolate-colored bodies as they move along the grass. I don't see the mound from which they came out in the immediate vicinity, so I think I actually just found them as they were foraging. We were just lucky to spot them. Interestingly, the Slender Mongoose can sometimes associate with Dwarf Mongoose and other mongooses in general, at least the diurnal ones. They're sometimes seen not living together, but being in the same area, so sharing same home ranges or territories, and not minding the presence of each other. A little tough to see them now. But you might just see them hopping about. There we go. Hopping about, and they're moving further and further away from us. Very fast this morning. Wildflower, hi, you say cute little busybodies. Absolutely. Cute and busy, all rolled into one chocolate-colored little thing. So cute. Well, they have moved off our feliforms. We've been spending some time with the feliforms this morning, the hyenas, Slender and the dwarf. So how about I send you over to an actual feline there at Pinda.
Okay, welcome back. We have found a part of Mountain Pride. So far, from what I can see, it is 2 lionesses and 3 of the sub-adults of the pride. That one that you can see there on your screen is one of the older females, fast asleep and fat-bellied. I think they've been feeding on something recently. So they are nice and fat and lazy. I did think that they were going to be enjoying the sun, but they've actually all gotten up and gone into the thicket behind them, which is a bit frustrating. There's another one of the sub-adults is lying there just behind this female that you can see, but she is very soundly asleep. So it's interesting how at the moment we do have, for a while it's just been this lioness that you can see and the 3 sub-adults, which are her cubs, and then a second lioness has joined her, And that lioness has actually been by herself for quite a while. She kind of split off from the pride because another female in the pride has got cubs, and I think she feels like, well, she'd rather hunt her own food and she doesn't want to have to share, but it is also a little bit more difficult hunting by yourself, so she might have joined up with this group so that she can have some help hunting, but it does mean that she'll have to feed or share her food, share hunt with these sub-adults who will be getting a little bit involved with the hunt at the moment, but not completely. They won't be helping with the takedown or anything like that. They may help a little bit with the ambush, maybe herding some animals towards the older lionesses, the more experienced lionesses who lie in wait. But it is a rather peaceful scene. She looks so comfortable up on that termite mound. Yeah, rattling testicular chirping in the background, quite loudly. But apart from that, there are no other noises, nothing to give away the position of these lions, no alarm calls, even the birds are quite quiet, not chittering away like they do sometimes when there's a predator or a snake or a bird of prey nearby. It's all just very, very quiet. We actually almost drove straight past the lions as well. Alison, just like a house cat, they will groom themselves by licking themselves. So they'll lick their paws and then wipe their faces and lick and then like kind of nibble to get off the ticks. And that is how they'll keep themselves clean. But lions are probably the least clean of the cats out here in the bush. They do clean themselves, but they're not entirely bothered by the smell that they let off because they don't have very many natural enemies, so they don't mind if they smell too bad. And that smell that they keep on themselves is actually a bit of an identity, which sounds quite interesting, but it is a way for, say, the male or other members of the pride to actually find one another. A different pride will have a bit of a different smell, and that is how they identify kind of one another, or if they're in maybe hostile territory where a pride is not their own and they feel maybe they should move out of that territory and come back to familiar smelling cats. Excuse me. Yeah, so although they look very clean, they'll kind of clean the superficial stuff off, but they won't do a nice deep clean like what a cheetah, for instance, would do. Cheetah are extremely clean, and they'll make sure they don't smell at all so that no big or no other predators can find them, because cheetah are kind of the smaller ones of the big cats and can be dominated and even killed by them, so they don't want to give away their position at all, so they'll clean themselves quite profusely. Lions, you will sometimes see ticks still attached to them that they've kind of just not taken off, which is interesting because, I mean, if you've ever watched a cat clean itself, they're very flexible and they can kind of reach most parts of their body. A few others there dozing under the shade of that guari thicket. I think we might sit here for a little while longer and see if anything changes here. I'm not holding out too much hope for that because the scene has not changed much in the last few minutes, but yeah, I think we'll stick around and see if anything happens.
We have received our second batch of name plaques, which is super exciting, and Marcel is busy mounting them as we speak. For those of you that don't know, we are offering the opportunity for Wild Earth explorers to get their names engraved on a plaque like this. Once your name is on the plaque, it will then be attached onto the vehicle. Marcel, what are you up to?
I'm busy mounting plaques on trusty Rusty.
This means that even though you're at home watching this, it'll still feel as though you're on the vehicle with us as we bumble about the bush. This means that V&A, Prajash, Melanie Greenwood, Linda J. Poley and Stephen Humbert will be riding along with us as we bumble through the bush, even though you're watching it from home. Now that the name plaques are on the back of the vehicle, it's time for us to head out and go and see what we can find.
Founded in 1973, the Endangered Wildlife Trust has consistently and effectively worked towards achieving our conservation legacy. Contribute to this legacy by visiting EWT's Get Wild eShop and purchase products with a purpose.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at Wild Earth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you're going to have to register on the website. But once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed.
We have a baby pangolin, a baby pangolin. This is off the charts. This animal is about from your fingertips to your elbow. That's the total length of this animal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is like now my 4th Christmas in a week. We should do this more often.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Welcome back to Juma, everyone, where we haven't had any luck with our large cats, so we're focusing on some smalls this morning. We had a squirrel for a moment, and he's not disappeared. What we do have is a small bachelor herd of impala, and what we had a moment ago is quite interesting for me this time, because the male impala were busy allo-grooming each other, which is something that normally takes at least a month or two after the for the male and it's normally still just too full of testosterone and wanting to fight each other. Today is the full moon, the super moon, with potential for a lunar eclipse in certain parts of the world today. And there we've got a one-horned impala who didn't do very well in the outcome of the fighting. So we're looking forward to watching the moon rise today. There's going to be celebrations and ceremonies all over the world. There we go. Even though he's only got one horn, he still seems to be dominating these other fellows. Maybe it's because he's got an unfair advantage with his one horn. No, Kevin, once they break, that's it, done. They grow slowly, incrementally from early on, and if they break off, it's a weakness, and essentially he won't be able to compete properly with other males, so he won't dominate and he won't be able to breed, and that essentially that weakness of his dies out with him. Get a proper ear and face clean. No, Stacey, I've never seen oxpeckers on a predator. I think they get eaten. Those that have ventured or been brave enough to attempt to land on a predator won't survive. Cats are very quick, agile, very good at catching things. I'm sure they could do with a bit of an oxpecker clean from time to time, but I don't think the predators see the benefit of it. They see a quick meal. See, all the impala can do is flick their ears and shake their head. Very persistent. Well, Hannah, it depends how it breaks. Breaks quite low down, it can actually influence the skull and can actually lead to infection. Saw a buffalo horn last year that had broken all the way down to the root, and it looked very uncomfortable, very painful. And that infection can possibly lead to death. But this one seems to have broken. There's a little stub there just above the head. Doesn't seem to have done much more than that. But the horns are attached to bony protrusions from the skull. So if they do break off on the skull itself, well, infections in the head and brain region really, it's not very easy to overcome. Okay, we might move on from our impala, see what else we can find, and we'll send you back over to Trico and his lions.
All right, thanks, Steve. So, I'm still sitting with these animals. As you can see, the one right at the back, the male, is already laying down. And only this female, she's still up and she's been looking around quite a lot. So as I said earlier on, potentially just picked up some scent of any prey animal. She could have picked up scent of anything, really. As you can see, she's lifting her head a little bit. Yeah, they still haven't, and as you can see, we're still in this riverbed. They haven't moved at all, because it's still cooler. But I think they will move as the day progresses. And she, as you can see, ears twitching a little bit. Some flies bothering her. I'm quite impressed with her. I mean, even though she has a limp and she's a little bit old, she doesn't look like she's in good shape. Because, I mean, obviously, as I said earlier on, she's quite old. But she's been doing great. I mean, she's been hanging around with the pride, following them a little bit, even though sometimes she lags from behind. But she still looks great. I think there's some few birds in the distance that she's looking at. There's some few that I can see from a distance, some crested francolins. There she is lifting her head again. Must be something interesting in the direction where she's looking at. She's on the right side of the wind, and if you can look at the grass around her, you can see the grass is moving a little bit, but moving more sort of in her direction, sort of east. So the wind is blowing from the direction where she's looking at towards her. So everything that is on the other side, she can smell what's on that other side. You can see the other male, or the male on the other side, is already up as well. Good morning, Jackie. Welcome. I believe your question is the sand warm in the riverbed? Definitely, Jackie. It is nice and warm here, which makes sense, because it's been a very cold month. It makes to come and lay down here to keep nice and warm. But a very good question there. You can see every now and then her tail keeps on moving as well. I mean, even where we are sitting, there's a bit of flies flying around. So there must be some few flies bothering this female there. Which is why she's moving her tail like they're trying to get rid of them. To be honest, I don't think these animals will move much. You know, it doesn't look like they've eaten, though. I've looked at the belly of this female. It looks like they haven't had anything in a little while. But if any prey animals come around this riverbed or crosses or try to cross this area, these lions will be up and will be interested in them. And even though they look a bit lazy and just laying down, they're quite opportunistic. If they can see something that is, you know, potential and they think they can catch it, they'll be up and try to catch it. Maybe not the female because she's limping quite badly, but the male might try to go for it. But to be honest, if nothing like that nature comes around here, they won't really move much. Only when it's become warmer, that's when they're going to move. But I think we're going to leave these animals be, head back a little bit more south. And in the time being, I'm going to send you over to Pinda.
So we have found some more Precessionary cat caterpillars. I think someone found them earlier this morning. I can't remember who it was. But yeah, we've also found some. And just as we got to them, they actually started doing their Precessionary thing. So not sure what his were up to. Ours were just in clumps, and now they are slowly kind of spreading themselves. Well, not spread themselves. It's a big bundle on the edge, and now you can see that they are starting to make their way along the branch. If you also look at this branch as we go down it, you'll notice that lots of the leaves are gone. So these caterpillars have obviously been here for quite a while, just munching on all the leaves, and that's what they do. So now you see that lump. They will have moved up the stem that had a whole lot of leaves on, and they'll slowly just finish, or just eat all the leaves. And then they'll probably move down like what the other little group is doing onto the next stem with some leaves, and they'll finish all those leaves and then very slowly move on to the next. It's all very, very slow movements though. I mean, this little ball of fluff you can see is not even moving. And the top one, I mean, every time I look at them, they've kind of progressed a little bit further, but I mean, but you can hardly see the movement. Looks like it's actually coming back again now, as opposed to moving on back down the branch. Maybe it spotted those leaves that they left out, it's decided it needs to come back. Come back for them. How beautiful are they though? And those long, long kind of fuzzy whiskers that they've got. Pretty cool. I mean, it almost looks like one big caterpillar as opposed to many little caterpillars. Beautiful shot with the dark background and the bright white of their fluff and that bright green. Really is pretty. This little bundle is definitely a lot more active than that other larger bundle. Back together. see there are quite a lot of leaves still around them, so maybe that is why. Maybe they feel that they haven't quite finished here yet. Okay, we are going to leave these caterpillars to their munching, and we're going to send you over to Steve.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, we're just doing a little loop around, check some more of our favorite watering holes. I didn't provide any animals yesterday, just a few birds, see what we can find. Oh, we got a bird in the road, Darby. Little hornbill going through some buffalo dung, looking for some insects, some grubs. It's a little red-billed hornbill. Oopsie. Next pile. That's so funny. There's a nice big pile on your left. Come on, go break it open. Yay. See, so that hornbill's very, very good, very powerful, very useful for scooping and for scratching. Something just flopped onto the floor there, looked like a butterfly, but it was probably a leaf. No, he didn't like that big pile of poo. He wants the smaller ones. How funny are they when they walk? You can often see that little bit of a tail in the sand when they've been standing. But their movement is often one foot in front of the other. Oh, we've got something. They can hop on 2 feet, but they often walk. Red-billed hornbill. Yellow-billed hornbill. Oh, hello. Got something. Oh, that was a grasshopper. Munch. The two of the more common hornbills we find around. Always scanning, always looking. And off we go. Okay. Always birds to be seen, everybody. Everyone says the bird looks like it's frowning, like a clown frown. I don't know. Never thought of that. It's not uncommon to see the two hornbill species hanging out together, capitalizing on different food resources, moving through with the mongoose we saw, or Trish showed you earlier. It's another sort of specialized ability of surviving. Being able to follow an animal that can dig and scratch around, catch food that it doesn't get or that escapes their grasp. Youngster, there's no rocky outcrops on this property, so I haven't seen any dusties. Quite a few properties in the Kruger. They're very, very very much associated with rocky outcrops and cliffs. The hyrax. Had lots of them on the Lavuvu when I was up on my men's trail last week. Sorry, Darby. You saw that one coming?
I did.
Jerome, I've heard them and seen them. I've heard them twice and seen them once. The trumpeters, they're not really resident here. They're like more tall forested, tall canopy forest, sort of riverine trees. So the two I saw, well, the one I saw was flying into Chitwa, and I heard one at Chitwa another time, and I heard one flying over Djuma once. But they don't hang around. They don't have the preferred habitat here. But they all move through, probably between the Sand River and the Olifants River. Blader, perhaps. Tall riverine forested canopy. Lots of figs, lots of fruit trees. To stop a moment. Let's have a little listen. Okay, well, we're going to slowly head on home and send you over the Trico. He seems like he's also on the move.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So there was something very interesting in the middle of the road. Let me go a little bit forward. Oh, there's one. Let's see if maybe if I turn the engine off, we'll be able to see. Oh, there it is. There it goes. Runs straight into the bushes. There's a family of banded mongooses there. All right, we're going to keep on going a little bit more forward. Maybe, oh, there's another one coming out. Let's give it a bit of a minute. Maybe there might be more in the bushes that might come back onto the road. So let's give it a bit of seconds and see if they will come out. That looks like that probably was the last one. So in the early mornings like this, these mongooses We'll be moving around, foraging, looking for food. We'll be looking for insects and some arachnids to feed on. Yeah, they're all gone. They all moved straight into this bush here. So I was speaking about the leopard earlier on. Unfortunately, because we're about to get to the end of the show pretty soon, I don't think we're gonna make it into that area. But this afternoon, we'll definitely go in that area, drive around there, and see if maybe we'll be lucky then. It would be nice to see a leopard. I mean, we haven't seen one in a very long time. No, definitely. If we could get some leopard or some spots this afternoon, it would be incredible. Especially this one female that we know of that hangs around here that has cubs. That'll be quite nice. But as you would know, this is the African bush. These animals do absolutely whatever they want. If they want to be seen, they will come out. But if they don't, it'll be impossible to find them. But we're gonna give it all. We're gonna give it a try, and hopefully we can show everybody some leopards. LT, welcome. Glad that you can join us. Have I ever seen leopard cubs, LT? Yes, I've seen leopard cubs quite a few times, actually. And also this leopard that I was talking about just now, I've seen her raise her first litter, and then they grew up while I was just like watching them, They get to an age where they got independent and they left. And this female, she just had her second litter, and I've only just seen them literally once. Because she's trying to hide them for now. You need to understand, they're still quite small. It'll be quite too dangerous for her to move around with them a lot. But she'll wait for them to grow a little bit bigger, and then she'll take them out quite often. But I have a very good question, LT. I think we're gonna slowly start to head to camp. And yeah, we'll see whatever we come across along the way.
We all have a busy schedule and a lifestyle which is confined to stress and tensions. For so many of us, the hustle and bustle of a tedious life has meant we have lost our inner peace. Traveling is an ultimate remedy that lets us unwind and helps us experience peace in the lap of nature. Wild Earth encourages the benefits of travel by giving away an amazing prize every month.
I was totally overwhelmed to receive this fantastic prize of 3 nights at Chitwa Chitwa, Wild Earth has been a lifesaver for us during the pandemic and has kept us sane. Thank you so very much, Wild Earth.
Sign up to be an explorer today, and it could be you jetting off on an all-expenses-paid-for safari experience. Wild Earth Explorers. It's in your nature.
And I find getting out to a local royal park brings me so much closer to nature. I can leave my pain at home. And like watching Wild Earth, I find it's the most amazing way to step out of life's difficulties and just breathe.
The chirping and fluttering of these Java finches at the feeder in our garden helps us start each day joyfully in connection with nature.
So this is our piece of nature that we've been enjoying and has been keeping us sane during lockdown. This morning we have 8 oyster catchers on our beach, which is a real treat.
Hug a tree, Steve, just for you.
Hi everyone, my name's Daniel Fisher and I'm going to be your guide this afternoon. I'm looking really forward to taking you through and showing you all the beautiful places here at and beyond Ngala. If you have any questions, please register on our website. Once registered, go to the live page feed and post your questions underneath the live feed. Join me on my next safari through and beyond Ngala on Wild Earth. Send me live questions through the Wild Earth website and I'll answer them live from the African bush.
Welcome back to quarantine, everyone. Well, it's been a pretty slow and quiet morning, but nonetheless, very beautiful day out and about. Oh, there's a female impala who decided that this side of the road was not up to her favorite sort of place. A male impala still exerting his dominance over some females. Just heard a lizard buzzard calling there. Go a pair of battaliers, see if we can get them flying. Only a raptor you rarely see flying in a straight line without having to flap. Any other bird of prey that flies in a straight line is going down or flapping. The battaliers just seem to cut through the air effortlessly. I'm not going to lie, dog, that this male impala eating that very dry grass is making me rather hungry. Rather hungry for whatever spoils we might have on a Wednesday morning for breakfast. It is shopping day today, so we can't over-exaggerate what we think might be for breakfast, but it's definitely going to be more tasty than that dry grass. Okay, everybody, well, we do hope you've enjoyed yourself this morning. We do look forward to hosting you again this afternoon on the Sunset Safari, coming to you live as always at the same time from all of the wonderful locations. We do wish you a beautiful day. Until then, thank you for your questions and comments this morning. We'll see you later on this afternoon. Until then, good day and goodbye.